We're here again with Doug, and Doug is going to take us through the process and explain the microorganisms that he has in his product. Go ahead, Doug. Tell us, what are these?
Thank you, Raymond. These are examples of Petri plates, which is one way we use to visualize these very small critters. They're very small. You can't see a single cell with a naked eye. So through the years, scientists have figured out how to grow them on Petri plates, and you can see, for instance, in this strain, they're red colored, and when you look at that, that's a single, what we'd call a single colony. There's billions of cells in that, so the numbers, it's quite a numbers game with that. These are examples actually of a bacteria we use in some of our products, and it is a bacteria called azospirillum. That bacteria its impact on plant growth is it can stimulate rooting, so it can help make more roots, but it also is capable of taking and converting the nitrogen gas that is in the air into a form of nitrogen that the plant uses as food. And that is probably one of the key issues involved in this type of bacteria. And as a class, they're referred to as biological, the process is referred to as biological nitrogen fixation. Okay? So it is literally biology taking and converting the natural N2 gaseous nitrogen and turning it into, mostly it's ammonium that they're turning it into. And then the plant is able to use that to grow. What we've done at TerraMax was figure out how to help keep those alive when we put them in a jug, because they're living things. They have a shelf life, and so very much like fresh fruit, where if you're going to buy raspberries in the grocery store, you want to get there and get them bought, right? Now, fortunately, these things will last longer than raspberries, but that literally was how to figure out how to keep them alive in the jug. Because when they're alive and they're delivered alive in the farm, when the farmer's going to use them, that's when they're able and capable of doing what they can do. So some other examples of bacteria we're working on into products, you see these purple and blue plates over here. Mm-hmm. This is just a technique where we're screening the population. So we take a bunch of bacteria, we put it on these plates, and I don't know if it'll be picked up very well, but you can see where they're clearing the plate.
Right.
So the plate it's not as cloudy. We have something in there that as the bacteria are growing, they are solubilizing or turning that from a solid into a liquid and using that. So it's how we look for the ones that are more efficient at it. And you see some that aren't as good at it as others. So it's a laboratory technique we use to select who we're going to put into a jug and sell to a farmer. And there's several other tests. There are other examples here of different types of bacteria. That these two are two different ones. They also are part of that biological nitrogen fixation process. In other words, this particular bacteria actually lives inside a plant and accomplishes, in terms of nitrogen fixation, the same thing as this azospirillum. This is these names get long and complicated. I half-jokingly tell people I paid a lot of money to learn these names. I'll use them when I want to. Okay.
The whole $5
Yeah,
word.
absolutely. This is Gluconoacidobacter diazotrophicus. And you don't have to learn that name. The point is that through a different way fixes nitrogen and provides it to the plant. Mm-hmm. And again, fixing nitrogen is converting the nitrogen from the atmosphere into a form of nitrogen that a plant will use and uses in its growth. That's another type of bacteria there, which is called Azotobacter. So there are literally hundreds and thousands of these types of things that scientists have characterized, but their task was to characterize them and learn their names, give them names, literally. And so where our opportunity is we've learned how to work with them and turn them into commercialized products that are useful for farmers, particularly in the organic world.
Right.
where many of the types of fertilizers that a conventional farmer will use and can use are not allowed or okay, if you will, to use in the organic world. There are many reasons for that. Typically, they link or relate to strongly that they can have negative impacts on the environment. Yes, they provide the nutrition for a plant, but they may help cause hypoxia in the Gulf or the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, so situations like that. Whereas these natural systems, as we've learned how to harness them, I won't say they completely get rid of those situations, but they reduce it tremendously. So, and again, that relates partly to the slow release nature, partly to you're not dumping literally sometimes tons of material on a field.
So your laboratories basically learned how to take nature and put it in a jug so an organic farmer can use it.
Yes, we have done that, and it's a good way to put it. That we've done some work on various pest control things that we haven't brought to market fully yet, but I'm fond of using the phrase very much like you did, Raymond. I like to use nature against nature, or use nature with nature.
Right.
And that's very much what we attempt to do with these types of things. When we figured out how to what we call stabilize or keep our microbes alive, one of the things we did was work on different formats, or what we call formulations. You'll notice the liquid versus the dry powder product. Those are very different environments for a bacteria to survive in, and so we had to figure out what we needed to mix with them to keep them alive in high enough populations to do their job. And preference for some farmers is they prefer to work with a liquid product. Others prefer to work with a dry or powdered product. Both of these formulations are used as what's called a seed treatment. So they will put this material on the seeds prior to planting. And again, it's very much personal preference whether they want to deal with a powdery component or a liquid component. It relates to the type of machinery they may have, as well as personal preference, which drives that personal preference. We also have done liquids that can be used directly on planting. So they're not used as a seed treatment per se, they're used more as you would use a fertilizer. So you would put them in the furrow or very close to the furrow where you plant the seed, and that way the bacteria get in contact with the roots of the plants. For these products that we've developed, these are rhizosphere active or root active microorganisms. So they want to be around the roots. They feed. They don't eat the roots. They feed off things that the roots give off. So there is a symbiotic relationship of a sort between these microorganisms and the growing plants, and they help each other grow. The azospirillum that I talked about earlier give the plant nitrogen. The plant gives that azospirillum carbon or sugars that it can use to grow. So that's where the mutualistic relationship really blossoms. We've been fortunate to figure out how to move these types of bacteria into the different formats or formulations. From a market perspective, one size doesn't fit all, and farmers do things differently. So we try to be able to, it's hard enough to get them to believe in something that they can't see. They can't see the literally trillions of bacteria that are in this jug. So in a sense, it's an act of faith of a farmer to say, I trust TerraMax, I'm going to use that product. And we build that trust through performance. And I spend a lot of time showing Petri plates.